on fixing bugs and stuff. Today we're gonna go over heater channel prep. Okay, so let's start looking at the heater channel and how getting that ready to be installed into the car. A lot of these heater channels, believe it or not, they rust from the inside out. Moisture gets inside of them, and then at least up here on the East Coast, and you don't see it until it's really bad later on. Back in the old days, they used to dip these heater channels, but I'm not sure if they dip them now or they spray paint them. I'm not sure. You can see on the inside it is painted, but I'm not 100% sure. But I'm going to show you how I'm going to prep that. We're going to start chasing the threads, and we're going to use a tap. Okay, looking at the bottom here, I started on this guy first, and it seems to be cleared out. Just to give an example, this is me tapping it through with this guy here. Not really a tap, just cleaning the threads up. And this is painted threads. So what will happen, you put this on the car, you weld everything's ready to go. You start to mount to the floor pan, and you stick a screw in here, and the screw starts to bind up with all the paint. And next thing you know, you're ripping the weld away from the weld nut. Then your screw starts to spin, which is a nightmare for those who are looking to finish a car. I mean, paint it and everything else once it's done. So you don't want that to happen. Once you break that weld nut in there, it's broken. Then you got to replace it and weld and do all this other work. But for now, we're going to chase these threads and make sure they're cleared of paint. Okay, the next threads we're gonna chase is this guy here. This one's they're painted too. This one seems pretty clean, but it takes a M10 by 1.5. You can see that. So we're gonna chase those threads there. Don't forget those on this nut plate. Those combined too, they've been painted. So we're gonna chase those threads next. Everything's looking good. So the next and will be the last thing is these guys here on the end. This is where your running board gets mounted to. So definitely want to do these. These take a M6 by 1.0, and we're gonna chase these threads next, and that should be the last of it. And then we're gonna mount it into the pan just to see how it fits. So everything looks pretty good. It lines up pretty well. You can see where all the holes are in the floor pan. You wanna make sure all those match up to the heater channel. Since this is a used pan, you can see that some of these slots were opened up a little bit. That wasn't my doing. That's how I bought it. So I left them. They'll be okay. So you just want to be sure that all the slots, all the holes match up. You don't want to put this on later and then find out that nothing matches up. Then you got to do some cutting and blah, blah, blah. But the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to test out this heater channel. When I mean testing out, I'm gonna test out to see how well the internal tube is. So I'll show you what I'm gonna do in a minute here. Okay, so I hooked up the heater channel to the exhaust on my vacuum. What I'm going to do is blow air through it and see how well the ductwork is on the inside, or the internal ductwork is. I'm just curious. This is just a test, just for my own purpose. You don't have to do this, but I was just curious. the test is done. I really didn't feel anything come out of here, or out of here, or out of here. Very slight air, because there's a pocket here. Very little air coming out of here, very little. It's definitely coming out here, which goes to the defroster, and definitely here where your feet are coming out of here. These little pockets here, I didn't feel anything really coming out of there either, so that seems good. So yeah, I have to say it's pretty good. I've seen it where they blow out air everywhere. Somehow the internal ductwork is either broken or not done correctly or made correctly. So that was just a test, just for me. You guys don't have to do that. Spot weld the weld nuts a little more than what's there. Let me show you real quick what I mean. Flip it over. Okay. So, if you look at the spot weld here, I don't know if you can see it or not. There's like these little four guys here. And that's how it's welded or spot welded into the heater channel. And sometimes these spot welds, as I mentioned before in my other videos, they do not do a very good job. Now this one seems to be okay. When I was chasing the threads, and some of them didn't move at all, so which is a good thing. So on other heater channels, I've had experiences where I were to install this into the car, and this thing is spinning, and that's just another nightmare. What I end up doing is I end up getting weld nuts that I have to put in. Let me grab those real quick. Okay, so what I've done in the past with these weld nuts, the easy thing to do is make the hole large enough so this boss can go inside of here. And then once it's flush inside of there, then you can weld around it. It'll give you like a little bit of a lip, but it's not horrible. I mean, you're gonna have rubber on here to seal it anyway. So sometimes that happens, so you have to stick these on. But to prevent using these, I normally notch 2 places on either side, and then I spot weld on each side. So that's the next thing I'm gonna do, is do that. And I notch it with a Dremel, just enough to get a little bit of material off. I get a little bit of material off this side, so I can have a good clean weld onto the sheet metal and to the weld nut. So let me do that next. Let me give you an idea of what we're trying to accomplish here. You can see it, give you an example here. You can see that the weld nut, where it starts and the sheet metal begins. Same thing on this side. See, there's a little bit of space there. You don't want to go too deep, because you end up cutting the weld nut. You don't want to do that. So you just want to get to a point where you can see the weld nut and the sheet metal kind of meet. And I say it's less than 1/16 of an inch that you're going down in, which is not much. So my next step is I'm going to weld here and here on all of these, just to be sure that the weld nut stays in place. Oh, and I'm going to do it to these guys here too. I've had these spin on me as well. These guys that hold on to the running board. So I'm gonna do the same. Okay, I decided to clean up the welds here, as you can see. the next thing I'll do is I'll just put screws in them, then I'll paint them over. Be sure that you don't weld that guy over there. That has to float so you can mount it correctly. But anyway, they all look good. This side, just 2 spot welds. Just be sure that the weld nut doesn't move. Same thing here, as you can see. So those weld nuts should not move at all. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're going to test fit the heater channel into the body without using the pan. The pan is not here right now, so my biggest concern, and this always happens, this area here, sometimes it needs to be trimmed up before you put the heater channel in. He'll hit up in here and get caught, and the area back here, he'll hit like around here. Usually there's not a ledge here, but those are the two areas I'm concerned about when I put this in here. So let me fit it up there, and then I'll show you what I trimmed off. Okay, I'm on the inside of the car here, and I can show you what I trimmed. This area I trimmed so that it could fit. It was hitting up against here. It was hitting up against this, so I trimmed this back. I probably have to trim this back a little more. This is mainly for where the carpet gets pinched onto. And you have to remember there's also a rubber piece that goes in here. It's a rubber piece that goes in here for the headliner. So that kind of sticks out in that direction. So you don't want to obstruct this. So I'll probably cut it back some more. That'll be later on once I get the carpet. I also had to trim, since we're dry fitting all this stuff, trim here as well. I did repair this spot and the metal was a little bit long. So as you can see, it's got a little bit of spacing there, but it still needs to be jacked up a little bit more, but it fits good. Trimmed a little bit here. And then inside of here, I had to trim a little bit of this corner here because it was hitting, but it fits in there pretty well. So those are the areas that I trimmed. Once I remove this, I'll show you what I did to the rear cross member to make it fit properly. Okay, looking at the rear cross member, this is on the driver's side. As you can see here, I cut like in 3 places here, going across. And I stopped cutting right here where this seam, not a seam, but where there's kind of like a boss that sticks out here. That's where I cut. If you're wondering why I cut in 3 places, the contour, if you can see it, it kind of goes straight and starts to curve, and then it starts to curve a little bit more. If you cut this just in one place and try to bend it, you're gonna have a lot of creases. So the best thing to do is just cut it straight here and straight here and bend it back. And what I'll do is once the heater channel's in, then I'll bend this back into place and then I'll weld it. But it's best to remove this because this is like at a 90-degree angle. I'll show you on this side because I haven't touched this side yet. You see it's like a 90-degree angle, so when you bring up your heater channel, it ends up hitting up against this as you do it. And it blocks it from getting through here, and then you start fussing and trying to figure out what's going on. Also, this here is gone from the other side because you don't really need it. It's not needed. I don't know why they even have it. So I removed this on the other side. You can see it there, I removed it there. So that helps out. So when the heater's, like I said, when the heater channel comes up, you don't want it to hit anything, you want everything to be cleared. And then when your heater channel's in place, just bend it all back and just weld it in. So that's just something, a little side note for everyone. If you're trying to get these on, now some people say you can put the cross member or the rear cross member later on. However, you have to remember that when you put the pan on, you have to make sure that these slots made up correctly. So I don't recommend, putting this on later. It's kind of hard to do, to put it on later because the pan's sitting here and then you gotta try to fit all the sheet metal in, and then these overlap each other. So it's very hard to do. So this is the best way that I found to do this whole setup. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I take the paint off. And so I figured I would show you what I do normally on these cars. Okay, we're at the final stage of the heater channel prep. I'm going to clean it up as best I can. I'm gonna try to blow out in here, whatever I can is in here. Blow out in here. Get as much dirt out as I can. I can't really get a vacuum in there because it's all twists and turns and it's tight. So what I'm going to use paint from Eastwood, and it's this guy here. It's the internal frame coating. I've used this on the tunnel, on my frame or the floor pan. I use this stuff, and it comes with a spray nozzle. I can't really zoom in on this because it's really small. But if you can see here, I'll put up a picture. This is what Eastwood has for the internal. It works great. If you have a truck or a frame that's just hollow chassis, then you can put this nozzle inside with tubing and just spray away. So let me get this ready and we'll start painting. Okay, flipped over the heater channel. Make sure all the screws are in. You don't want the paint to be shooting out of the hole. And also you want to cover the threads so the paint doesn't get on the threads. My plan is to go start spraying here in the front. We're gonna spray on the inside, on the front here, and work my way back. I may have to take some of the screws out in order to get the tube in here to cover. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, there are pockets in here. Like in this area, there's a pocket, and there's like a piece of sheet metal that's in here. I guess it prevents for any water getting in here and going any further. So I'm going to address that first and then work my way all the way to the back. Getting this ready to paint, it comes with this, I guess this hose, and with a nozzle on the end. You just have to remove this sprayer here. And then this goes on top. This goes on top just like this. And then you're ready to go. Just make sure you shake the can up. This color is green. I chose green instead of the black because I want to make sure what I'm covering. Just to spray black on black, it starts to blend in. So that's why I chose the green. So let me get started. First place I'm going to start in is this guy here. I'm going to try to put the nozzle in here. And if it fits, I'll try to put it in here. And it'll be a real quick spray, just as a starter. Spray nozzle 3 times, and then I'll pull it out as I spray. See, it sprays pretty radically. A little messy, but it works. Next, I'm going to remove this bolt here and spray on the inside this way. By removing the bolt, looks like it's sprayed that far, which is great. You can see it in the hole. It's green in the hole. So I'm gonna put this bolt back. So it did spray that far, which is great. Let's try this bolt. See if it went this far. Yeah, it looks like it sprayed that far too. But I'm gonna go from here. I'm gonna put the nozzle that way and spray some more. You can see it there. coming out of the seam here. Sorry for the shakiness of the camera. This stand is terrible. We'll do the same thing to the next one here. And I don't want to bore you guys. I'm just me spray. Okay, so I rolled over the heater channel, rolled it to its normal side there. And then a lot of the paint, since it was sprayed upside down, will roll and kind of coat the up here, and then it'll coat the bottom too. So a lot of it did come out. I went heavy on it, like you should. So it covers pretty well. That paint has like some kind of corrosive resistor in it. It's like zinc or something. So it dries pretty quickly as well. So you can see over here, some of it came out as I rolled it. So there's plenty of it in there. And I'll spray some more. What I'll do is I'll take the nozzle and the hose and I'll stick it as far as I can in here, all the way through here. And then I'll pull it back and spray some more. And after that, I'll go in here as best I can. I may have to tilt this, I may have to tilt this up for it to cover better, but we shall see. So let me do that now. So I tilt the heater channel up just to get the paint rolling down this way. So tilt it up and you can either lay it flat or spray it and then tilt it. But you want to be able to spray in here, let the paint roll down. That way it covers all of this here. So the next, I'll be painting inside here as best I can. And then we'll roll it over again. That way it coats it. Be heavy coat. And we'll take a look afterwards. Okay, this will be the last of the painting of the internal coating. I'm gonna stick it in here as far as I can. While it's wet, I will turn it over this way. It's already dripping everywhere. It may come out of that hole too. I'm just rolling it just to get the paint where it needs to be. Go under while it's wet. I don't know, it looks kind of stupid, but it works. While it's wet. There we go, sticking this in here. Look at these louvers here. See if it comes out. Okay, well there you have it. See, some of it spilled out, so which is a good thing. We want to make sure it's getting covered everywhere. I am going to go over a little bit more in this guy here. So anyway, it does get messy, which is fine. You want it to cover. As you can see, it came out of here too, where this seam seems to be exposed. Around here, came out there too. Okay, we're gonna do the final spray. This will be the final spray. We're gonna spray in here and take these bolts out. Spray in here as best we can. And that should be it. I'm not gonna show you that because that's gonna be another boring spray. So that'll be the last of it. Okay, as you can see inside of here, it coated pretty well. It's kind of hard to see if I can get it focused. So it coated in there pretty well. So And then in here, let's take a look in here. Same thing, coated pretty well in there as well. Let's take another closer look inside here. That's coated pretty well. So that nozzle really works pretty amazing. And I recommend using it. It has a rust inhibitor. I think it's zinc phosphate. Prevents any further corrosion. You can actually spray it on rusted stuff, as I did in my tunnel. So it works really well. So now at this point, I'm gonna let it dry. Later on, I'm going to clean it up, whatever spilled on the outside here. I'm gonna clean that up. And then I will probably paint this with welding primer. And then I will do the other side. But if Eastwood wants to send me some stuff to try on the Volkswagen, great, I'm all for it. But I recommend their products. I use a lot of their products, actually. But this is what I recommend. You don't have to do it. But I plan to keep the car for a good while, and I don't want to run into this issue again. So, again, guys, it's up to you if you want to go this route. You don't have to. There's other ways of painting the inside too. I've seen people just dump primer in it and kind of swash it around. I've seen that done. That works too, if you don't want to spend the money on that spray. So either way, you just want to make sure that it's coated on the inside. You want to prevent rust from happening in the future. And that's all it takes. Well, this is the end of the video. There's not much more we can do to the heater channel other than finish painting it and then attaching it to the floor pan and installing it. And that'll be on the next video that I do. I still have to go and clean up the inside of the body. I want to descale all the rust before I start welding. So I got to do all that on the inside. Anyway, please like, subscribe, and comment. And thank you for watching.